Oh, hello. I believe I am live. If this is all set up correctly. I have Face waiting to join me, but I currently cannot hear him for some reason. So we're just going to work through that. Oh, I can hear you now. You can't see him on the stream yet, but I can hear you. Okay. I've got to relearn how to do all of these things. I wonder why Skype's being strange. Let's see if we can figure that one out. Oh, okay, fair enough. So for some reason, can you hear me? You might be able to hear me in Skype now. For some reason, it was defaulting to a microphone I don't have. Well, I'm not currently talking, but yes. That is so weird. Anyway, let's see if I have my OBS set up correctly. Well, I will soon be able to find out. So this is probably not very interesting television. Aha! Face doesn't count. Right, so theoretically I should be able to cut you in now. Ta-da! Okay.
I mean,
you look pretty shocked.
That's a me.
That is a you. We are now here.
I'll take it.
Well, hello, anyone who is
It's
watching.
not just me either.
Hello.
She's ready for her revenge or something.
Here. Hey, it's me.
Still can't hear you via Skype, by the way, Kristian. So this is going to be very interesting because we can't actually have a conversation. Because yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I literally only use Skype for this, so I can't really give any. I've turned my camera off on Skype. God only knows if that helps. Noise cancellation off. I mean, when I test my microphone, it says it's fine. I can't. That's all I can tell you. That's all I can tell you.
Well, the problem is that the only way I can hear you is via YouTube, and so if I do that, then I can just hear myself via YouTube as well. Well, the problem is that the only way I can hear you is via YouTube, and so if I do that, then I can just hear myself via YouTube as well.
I should probably talk more just in case the problem suddenly fixes itself.
And naturally, we're just going to get the repeated going round and round and round because of the, yeah.
Is it worth killing Skype and coming back again?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why I had to word that so violently, but
Sure. Is this any better?
so the question is, can you hear me via the
I still
proper
can't
Skype
hear
now?
you if you're talking.
What if I use a different microphone for Skype? Does it not like that I'm using the same things? If I switch it to my headset, so that my headset mic is going through Skype instead of my microphone. We didn't have this problem before, did we? I didn't.
We didn't have this problem before, did we?
I mean, it's definitely a Skype problem because everything else seems to be working. Are you sure you don't just somehow have me muted on Skype?
Sorry, yeah,
That's just blurry.
Emily's putting some stuff up. I don't know. The please hold thing didn't. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, that's just Emily's putting some stuff. I don't know. The please hold thing didn't. Yeah.
Well, let me unblur the background.
Mimosa? But why a mimosa specifically?
Why a mimosa? Honestly, sir, can't even remember your own darn game.
Apparently not. It's funny because I'm not delayed, but you are.
I suppose it's not another system that we can use that I can actually hear you.
Well, I have a third app running. We could have a Discord chat as well.
We could just join
Yeah.
in on chat rather than.
Oh, Are you calling me on Discord?
I'm calling
Right.
you on Discord to see if that works. Right, so can you hear me through Discord?
Well, let me mute YouTube. Right, say something through Discord.
I'm talking through Discord now, yeah, so can you hear me?
Yay! YouTube is muted,
That is a terrible
so I
system.
can now hear you.
We have video through Skype, audio through Discord, and broadcasting through YouTube. What a nonsense situation.
It works, and that's all that matters.
Oh dear. You're all echoey to me now, so I guess I will mute you on Skype.
That's probably a good idea. Yes. I'll mute myself on
How?
Skype as well.
Yeah, I don't think I can mute you. Well, what a glorious combination of technologies we have mastered. I mean, yeah, that seems like something that should have thought of. Tinterweb. Okay. That is pretty cool. That's the kind of thing that I always like very nearly buy at like Comic Cons and conventions and things. All right, well I think we're all set up now. Welcome to the YouTube. Oh, hello. That's fine. I'm not famous at all. Yes. Well, anybody who is watching, thank you for joining me. I just wanted to test out this little system and maybe have a little chat with some lovely people. I've been obviously working very hard at the moment. All my videos lately have been about my board game and the UK Games Expo, so obviously that is a slight diversion that I feel like a lot of people who don't know about it will have just come out of nowhere. Hmm. Oh, was it Space Alert? Yeah. Space Alerts. Space Alerts. Well, I was going to say, yeah, Space Alert's one of those games. A game that I bought at the second hand at a HandyCon in the last time I HandyCon in the last year or so. But I bought it because when I started working on my game, people were like, "You should play Space Alert if you like," because it's like, it's not the same in any really, but it's like thematically it's very similar. Oh, it's because your audio is broadcasting through my Skype. So you have to be unmuted on Skype. So I have to mute, right? So I have to mute you on Discord. So if you mute yourself on Discord. So right, so for anyone who didn't see how the setup went for this, we're broadcasting live on YouTube. Currently I have Face's video through Skype, for broadcasting through my OBS, but we couldn't get that audio to work, so we started a Discord call. Unfortunately, now we just realised the audio now goes through Skype. So we've got Face's audio and video through Skype, but he can't hear me that way. So my audio is going to him through a Discord call, and then everything is feeding through. Which I still
believe I can hear.
YouTube. So yeah, so that is yes.
So can people hear me now? Is the question. People out there, internet land.
We just have to wait for the delayed response.
Patiently for the delay.
Technology.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah. I do want to do more of this. I do want to do more of this because it is well, I was about to say it's an easy avenue, but apparently it isn't. But yeah, it is a good outlet, and we did the Fiasco game, which worked really well. So I really
that was brilliant. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, so I really want to get that going again. So yeah, a little bit of practice, just figuring out how all this works, would be good.
I'm assuming there's not a direct Discord translation through to OBS.
Not that I'm aware of, but there might be. It's just the Skype plugin that I used before.
A voice from just off screen there. Pop in the chat if you're aware.
Yes.
No, Jaina. I'll tell you what. I'll pick something from the deck of many things. That's on the deck of many things.
Oh. It is.
I don't think it is. Oh, it's a deck of many things. Okay, I'm about to pick something from the deck of many things. This might go very badly. Okay, I mean, that's fairly accurate. I have just drawn the idiot card.
Is that accurate?
Yes, yes it is.
Oi!
Okay.
Leave.
Harsh.
No, I will not. I will stand off screen. Go.
So, for those who are going to be watching season 1 when it's released, my
Yes.
character has an 11-year-old daughter who was very loosely modelled after that one over there, who's now my 12-year-old daughter. And who has decided if we ever do a season 2, she wants to be on season 2 playing my daughter.
Yes, I do.
You could figure
Yes,
that one
I
out.
do.
Right. Yeah, no, that's something we can talk about as well. So yeah, so I just wanted to do a little live chat check-in, just see what we're about, see if anybody would care enough to watch, and if anybody had, and just talk about the process of everything that's been going on lately. So I've spent today, we'll talk about the season in a second, but I've spent today editing a how to play video for the board game, and submitting the entry to Board Game Geek. So I'm all very board game centric at the moment.
Have to admit, I'm very much looking forward to playing it.
Yeah. So there's a brief video, which I guess you saw on my channel, but just sort of giving an outline.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea was that when you play a game like Pandemic or something, Kaylee's lurking in the doorway. When you play a game like Pandemic or another co-op game, and there's often moments where you kind of think, well, if only we had done things slightly differently.
Yes.
But yeah, this was this. Oh yeah, grab a chair. So what if you could go back? What if you could play those games on hard mode and see if you were correct, and you could go back and change things? So
hi, Kaylee.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Can Kaylee hear me?
No, you can't hear you. What?
You don't need to frame me.
I don't need to frame you. She just wants to sit next to me. She doesn't want to actually be on camera.
Just lean
Alright,
occasionally.
Okay.
Like Emily, basically.
So yeah, so that was the concept. 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, that was the concept of the game.
Yeah.
And then now here we are, finally put it together enough to actually try and do something with it.
When is the Kickstarter launch, or have I missed that already?
No idea. The pre-launch page is up, but the actual launch will depend entirely on our, the forward marketing and everything else.
What am I looking for in
That sounds like a noise that needs to be
Kickstarter?
checked on.
That wasn't out loud.
Was it not?
No.
Okay. Was it through here?
No, it's from next door.
Oh, okay. There was a very loud banging sound, so I assumed the cats just did something. But yeah, the pre-launch is up. But yes, the actual launch, will depend on how much kind of buzz we can put together and things like that.
I was about to be like, oh, remind me so I can save it on Kickstarter, and I found that I'm like, oh, I already have clearly saved it on Kickstarter.
But yeah, hopefully we'll have a Board Game Geek entry in the next few days. Hopefully before the expo. The pre-launch video is ready to go. And to be honest with you, the how to play video is basically ready to go. I'm just going to upload it in the morning. I've got a few other videos to upload because I got a copyright strike on the This War of Mine videos.
Really?
So I've had to edit those slightly.
What happened there?
If there's a thing with the music I was using, I thought I had licensed it, but apparently I didn't do it correctly.
Ah.
So I've had to fix that issue. So they're all down at the moment, but I'll put the rest up, and that's going to be all 4 parts of that are edited now.
I mean, also
Just
it
go for
didn't
it.
involve us, so
Yeah.
they probably had issues with that.
I've edited season 1.
Ooh,
However, it's not rendered or fully cut yet because I don't have any memory space. So I've finally managed to complete all the projects on my 10 terabyte hard drive. I've completed all of them, all those jobs. So now I can wipe that drive and I can use that 10 terabyte drive to render season 1.
Nice.
So that can
which
finally go out.
incidentally wrapped 2 days ago.
Well, a
A
year and 2 days ago.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, a year
Wrapped
and 2 days ago.
You've already got it
Yeah.
edited. Well done.
Valid point, well made. Wrapped a year and 2 days ago when we were discussing it on Discord earlier. I'm like, when was it? It was exactly a year ago, and yeah, it was almost exactly a year ago.
So that got like heavily dated. It also didn't help that when I lost my company I was working for closed down, and it sort of changed my priorities quite a lot. But yeah,
What, needing to eat.
yeah. But that was a hassle. So yeah. So it's more or less ready to go. I just need to wipe that drive, and then I can actually do like all that.
And
stuff
then
that takes.
the world can be introduced to Nathaniel Grayson and Coria James, and a couple of other people that weren't as important.
It's funny because I think that Session 0 is probably going to be like 3 episodes because the Session
Really?
0 was so long. Well, it might be like
Really?
I think it's going to be
How are you
world.
splitting it up?
Well, I think it's going to be world characters and then the secret character stuff, which was actually a lot longer than I thought it was. But it's a good 4 hours long, that Session 0. Because we spent we just did that day is all. That's the only all we did. We have to remember that when we filmed, we only filmed that Session 0. I'm pretty sure.
Actually, yeah.
So we did dedicate an entire afternoon to it.
It was good. It was my first introduction to Fate.
Yeah.
And now I'm in the process of running my very first Fate game.
Oh yeah, cool. Are you
with
going
Emily.
from scratch?
Yeah. So it was with Emily and Vic and another couple of friends of mine, guy called JC and an individual called Anna. We said, right, the only provisos I said was I wanted to do modern day, because I wanted to step away from, because I run a Star Wars game on Start Playing Games every other Sunday, slight plug. I ran 3.5 years worth of D&D to get to level 1 to 20. That was the most recent one. The one before that was 9.5 years. I wanted a bit of a break from fantasy and sci-fi. So I wanted to do modern. I wanted to do modern. I wanted to do, knowing Emily, who likes, who whenever you mention the word heist, she will start chiming heist in the background. So I wanted to do like an Ocean's 11 style heist, effectively. And we had the Session 0, effectively, where they all design their characters using the whole round robin, creating of characters and sharing backstories that the wonderful viewers will get to see when they see Session 0 of our Fate game. So we've done that, and then we have been hit by the biggest curse of all TTRPGs, scheduling.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have mixed feelings about paid games, and even though I run paid games, we both run paid games now. So but it is a funny thing. But I'll say this about paid games: at least they happen. At least I
Yes.
get to play.
This is pretty much it. Yeah. Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Of all the games that I ran, the ones that always go ahead are the ones that people pay me for. Because people are the only times they don't happen is that when I'm not around, because I've had to cancel or I've had to pause, or whether I'm ill or whether I've had to cancel it because I'm on holiday that week or something like that. But yeah, they are without a shadow of a doubt the most regular games that I've had.
Funny old world.
at least regular paid games, I should say. I do have other groups that I do game with, and yet again that's just on an ad hoc basis. And they still pay me. It's very nice of them. I guess it's kind of like the effort that you put in as a games master, as you know, the effort that a games master puts in as opposed to a player. It's logarithmic scales above. So I don't necessarily have too much of a problem with it. But yeah, that one we've been trying to have a WhatsApp group with are you free this day? Are you free this day? Fill in this poll here. And it just gets it's been like 3 months, I think, since that last one.
Yeah. My I've got a Monday night D&D game, not a paid one, but just with like a home game that has been running for 5 years, over 5 years, and it's like shockingly regular sometimes. And to the point that we're like, if we miss 2 weeks in a row, we all like feel really apologetic about it. Like, actually,
this
that's
is the
like
one that
pretty
Emily
good.
did, I assume, obviously.
No, this is like pretty good. They're level 19 at the moment. So they're sort of reaching the climax.
Yeah, my group got to level 20. So 3.5 years that one was, and they were all around my place. It's great. They all came around my place. Bearing in mind, this is the first time I've actually met some of them in person, despite having in fact the game with them for 3.5 years. And they came around to my place for a D&D weekend. I treated myself when I first started charging. When I first started being a pro DM. I bought D&D stuff with my money, but otherwise I don't. Otherwise, obviously I've got to pay tax on it. And one of the things that I bought with my D&D money is a D&D table. So my dining room table, as you are aware, Kristian, has got the you can take the middle leaves out, and it's a nice recessed gaming area. You can take that recessed gaming area out, and it's a nice big 50-inch TV. So we had everybody sat round the minis that we'd all that had been painted for it, the soundtrack going, the animated maps underneath, and then we gamed for like 6 hours on Saturday and 6 hours on Sunday, and it was a genuinely amazing ending to a 3.5-year campaign.
That's cool.
I even got commissioned an artist to do a scene from the final battle, and that is currently hanging downstairs on my wall.
Cool. Yeah, I've often thought it would be really good to do a little weekend away, little Airbnb type weekend of just gaming, either board games or role playing games, or even just like a writing weekend away, which I know might interest like Emily. Just like I rent an Airbnb and sit around and just write and just sort of share ideas around. And then I stop and think, I probably should just buy food this month instead of planning elaborate board game weekends. But I think the ideal scenario at the moment is that somewhere late next year I'll be in a position to be able to call gaming a full-time job through some combination of running games and the board game release and working on our next game, which is already in the pipeline as well. Or at least in the pipeline is, and I've like made a very rough draft. I thought I might have the original hand-drawn version of Trouble on the Tempest, but it's not here. I think I must have put it into storage. So just hand-drawn on a big piece of cardboard, with all these like little cardboardy pieces and cards that I wrote myself. I bought like a blank packer, like 1,000 blank playing cards off of Amazon for a £5 or whatever, and then I hand drawn the cards myself. So there's somewhere there is in storage is a handmade version of that,
the original,
in the very first
prototype.
Yeah. From like I say, from like 10 years ago.
Way back when.
It's surprising how little has changed.
That's good.
The original idea was pretty solid.
What was the hardest part about making your own board game?
That's a very layered question. The concept kind of just came. I think it's just sort of amongst my gaming group. These just sort of concepts just sort of form as you're sort of discussing what would be fun in games, and then that kind of latched, the time travel thing kind of caught on, and then I just ran with that. But once you've got that idea, you have to figure out everything, how everything else makes sense. And the hardest part at the beginning was simplifying it, basically, because it was so bloated at the beginning. I mentioned in the how to play, I might have mentioned it in the previous video, but the how to play that goes up tomorrow, that I had to come up, that it wasn't until quite late that I came up with a system that allowed me to reduce the card deck from 160 cards to 22 cards. Because at the time that was just so much more complicated and bloated, and it got to a point where the game essentially worked, but it would have required like a rule book, like a D&D style rule book to learn. And at that point I went through it deleting stuff like crazy. Like there's so much stuff I just threw out because I was like, this game is too complicated and it needs simplifying. So the hardest part was making it user friendly, because you reach a point where obviously I understand it, but that's not good enough. Other people need to understand it. Because I don't come in the box with the game.
Really? God damn it! I was going to pay extra on the Kickstarter for that.
So it's like, if you pledge £1 million on the Kickstarter, I will come to your house and teach you the game. That's the top tier Kickstarter level.
How many of those can you sell? So for £1 million, I want a permanent Kristian in my
I mean, for £1 million, I'd have to think about it.
This is fair. I'd feed you, don't worry. Food's included.
Okay.
The one thing that, because one of the myriad of creative projects that I've kind of like juggling at the moment is that I'm in the process of writing my own RPG, because I'm very much like you. I've played D&D for a very long time, and there's lots of niggles and things that wind me up about D&D. I did disagree with one of your videos that I was watching when you were like saying the whole balance on D&D is not important, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to disagree with you on that one. But it's just the different styles of games that we run, and there's nothing wrong with how you run your D&D. That's how you run it. I run it how I run it. But there's still some things that wind me up about D&D. So I've been trying to effectively make my own RPG system, and I'm like, God knows how many documents deep into it. I think I've got about 7 or 8 different documents on the Google Drive, each one being a different chapter about how wounds work, how skills work, how the attack works. And I haven't even started on the feats or talents and all that sort of stuff, or even powers. And yet again, it's half of it. It's like, I mean, I'm making an RPG that I want to play, but I'm very much aware that the games that I want to play aren't necessarily the games everybody else wants to play. You'll probably look at my RPG system and go, yeah, no, that's not for me, because it's probably too crunchy for your style of game.
Yeah, is it a bit more on the trad side, the traditional kind of?
Not really. I'm stealing stuff from everywhere, if I'm brutally honest. Have you ever played Fantasy Flight games, the Star Wars Fantasy Flight games, or the Genesis system at all?
No, I don't think so, no.
So some of the stuff on there that I think you'll probably like is the way the dice work. So there's no necessarily, it's not like roll a d20 and add a modifier. It is you roll a set number of dice. So you effectively create the dice pool. So the good side of the dice, the player will fill in, and then the negative side, the DM will fill, or the GM will fill in. So it's the difficulty, the challenge dice, penalty dice versus ability dice, skill dice, and boost dice. 3 on each side, basically. And then you build the pool, you roll them, and then you read the results. But the results are in 2 different ways. There's 2 different good results and 2 different bad results. So you've got successes and advantages, and then you've got failures and threats, and they cancel that out. So if you roll 4 successes and 4 failures, it's a net 0. To succeed on the roll, whether you're shooting a stormtrooper or swinging across a bridge, or or convincing a Hutt crime lord to let you live, you've got to succeed on the roll. So you've got to roll more successes than failures. The advantage is an additional on top of that. So you might succeed on the roll, but have actually got more threat than advantages. So you've succeeded, but at a cost. And then the GM gets to say, well, okay, well, narratively, we'll say he believes you, but his major domo doesn't. So you succeed in the role, but you with the threats stroke advantages, you get to influence the story from a narrative perspective, but with mechanics from it. So you can spend maybe 3 advantages. If you've got 3 advantages left over, okay, fine, I've missed the stormtrooper, but can we say that I've basically shot his cover up, so he's now having to run out of the cover, and he's had to drop his weapon because I hit his weapon instead. and you are using the narrative dice to influence the story. So I do like that. I do like that aspect. So I've stolen that.
Okay.
So that's the general principle. But the other thing that I haven't seen, and if it has, obviously I'm happy to be corrected by yourself or by anybody else, either watching or commenting later. I haven't seen like an action point system that's used in RPGs, because one of the things that annoys me about D&D, especially 5e, is that you've got offensive or defensive, and those are your two options, especially if you're a martial class. I'm going to hit you with my sword, or I'm going to dodge. Yep, fine, there might be the occasional class that can dodge as a bonus action, the monks with using their key, for example, but it's very few and far between. So it's either I'm going to attack or I'm going to defend, and that's usually the choices that the player's going to make each time. I'm trying to have an action point system, so each player will get, or each character, sorry, gets 5 action points that regenerate at the start of their turn, and they can use those action points at any point throughout the round. So you can attack maybe twice, but then save some action points in reserve to defend, or to dodge, or to cast counterspell and that sort of stuff. And obviously different talents and different abilities will be able to increase those action points to do certain things. So if you massively spec into swords, for example, you'll have like 3 extra free action points that you can use to parry. So that's the whole thing, is that you've actually now got an entire round that you have to pay attention for. You can't just have your go and switch off for 40 minutes waiting for the next person to come in and, you know, wait until it to come round to you again, because you've got your action points you can spend throughout the entire round. And I'm not sure that I've seen many, if any, RPGs that effectively have that capability, that you can basically act at any point during the round with your resources, not just on your turn. Certain things you can only do on your turn, obviously, but things like reactions, you can have as many as you save. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense a lot. You're not the first person I've seen talking about designing a role-playing game with action points, because I think it is a really solid kind of idea. There almost certainly is one or two or several in the millions of games out there. So yeah, please, if you know, please do comment. I don't know.
Yeah, if you have, please let me know, because I'll read up on it and see how they've done it.
There is the which is the game that I first started in the hobby with, is Rifts. And Rifts is, I've got all of my Rifts books here. It's my most beaten up book, because it's also old. But yeah, it's a sci-fi game. But it has it's a badly written game. Just very, and you'll see people talking about it.
The Rift sponsorship.
Like, there's a crazy amount of it as well. There's so many books. There's definitely more books than D&D, and definitely more books than Pathfinder. Because there's one book for every country in the world. Because it's set on Earth, so there's one book for every country, and then there's other source books for other dimensions and the Federation of Magic and things like that. So there's an insane amount of Rifts. But yeah, it's a very strangely written game. Just to give you an example, I think I talked about this in a video at one point. But this is just the base book, and character classes sort of range from like Hulkbuster type, mech person, to like a psychic who basically one of the psychic classes. Their ability is that they have all the psychic powers. I'm like, what? Like, there's a character who is the Human Torch. There's a dog boy who is basically kind of a psychic hunter. And then there's one character class called Mind Melter, who is just a character psychic class who has all of the powers, including all the ones of all the other classes. I'm like, that's such a weird choice. But the best example of how strange this game is that if you want, you can play a homeless person with no skills. And I'm not joking. The class is called Vagabond Non-Skilled. That's a character class. A vagabond.
Would anybody actually generally want to play that game?
It's just such a strange game.
Right, so we're going to have a quick game. So, Kristian, your character can do everything that every other character can do. Okay, cool. And Emily, your character can do nothing apart from smell slightly and drink out of a brown paper bag.
If you watch some of the like fireside chats, particularly on the Dimension 20 ones. Like there's Matt Mercer's talked about Rifts, and I think Talis and Jaffe as well, because they've played a lot of games. But yeah, everyone says like it's a fun conceptually, it's quite fun because it's a very broad, enormous amount of lore with the game. But it's just such a weird, unbalanced mess of a game. But the reason I started talking about that is because it sort of has an action point economy, but like the game is so strangely written that it doesn't word it that way. So like certain attacks cost more actions than others. So you go into a round and everyone has different amount of actions amongst them, and certain attacks cost more actions, and dodging costs an action
concept as well. Yeah.
And some characters can learn the skill auto dodge, which means that dodging doesn't cost an action, but they can still do it. So there is sort of an action economy there. It's just a strange one, because literally I played a game of this where there's a character with like a super juiced up combat-y character could have 7 action points, and I was playing a rogue scholar, and I had 1 action point every round, because I had no combat skills, and the combat skills are the ones that give you extra action points. Like, okay, I just hide in the back. So it's a weird game. It's a weird game.
And that's kind of similar, almost like to D&D to that sort of respect. Because I once, way back when I actually used to play D&D on a regular basis, I was playing a rogue, a charming con artist rogue. I know, very unlike me, and it was very annoying because the DM, lovely guy, but we were in a dungeon for 2 years real time. So for those 2 years real time, I didn't have anyone to swindle or con or deceive or anything like that. But as a rogue in 5e, as a thief rogue in 5e, in combat, your options are, who do I stab to get sneak attack? And that's really about it. And I can remember actually playing D&D for an evening, and I counted. I actually, because we started the session rolling initiative, and the combat lasted until the end of the session. It was literally an entire session with nothing but combat. And I played D&D for 43 seconds that day. Because literally, it was all I had was, who do I attack? Oh, that's the one. I've got 2 targets. I'm going to go for the one closest to me. That's a 2. Right, let's turn over them. And I think I had like 4 attacks. The first 2 missed. The second 2 hit. So I rolled my dice and get sneak attack. And that's it. You know, the clerics, the wizards, the druids, the warlocks, you know, the casters have got a bajillion and one things to choose from. Marshals are like, who do I hit? How do I hit them? And I want to make sure that no matter what options you go for, you've always got choices in combat. Because like it or not, combat is a big part of tabletop role-playing games. Not always, but it is the part that usually uses up most of the rules. And so I want to try and do it so if you want to, if you can do multiple things in combat that aren't just stab with knife. Looking, things like tricking people, misdirecting people, shaking people to drop the number of action points they've got left by demoralizing them, all this sort of stuff. A lot more bringing the social skills into combat that actually have a mechanical effect.
It is tricky, yeah. Because to get back to like the balance point, like I don't think balance is unnecessary, because obviously it is. There's a design to it. I mean, I've had to balance my board game. That's half of what I've been doing to it. But I think that it's such a very tricky thing to do, and I totally sympathise with people who say that 5e is too easy, because I think 5e took balance to the extreme where it flattened the curve so much that at a certain point everyone was just sort of doing the same thing. Like, there were different words attached to what they were doing. Some people were doing fireball and some people were doing sneak attack, but at the end of the day they were all just chucking a big pool of dice to try and reduce the other thing's hit points down. And I'm like, I mean, it's nice, but like a lot of it doesn't. No, I always feel like I like it when a player min-maxes or overpowers themselves or creates a funky combo, because they want to feel awesome. They want to feel like they're doing something that's never been done in this world before, and that's
Which
cool.
is great if all the players do that, but if you've got one player that plays the min-maxer power gamer...
And that's where the balance goes wrong,
don't.
yeah. That's where the balance goes wrong.
Yeah, because you want to make sure that everybody has a good time, and if one person is like, well, I can do everything that your character can do, but slightly better...
Yeah, it's such a delicate ecosystem.
Yeah, and I think so. I mean, I know 4E has its detractors. That's the D&D that I first started. I first started on 4th edition. It's what I first played and what I first ran as a DM. And it does have. I mean, fair play. It did manage to keep the marshals and the casters on parity to a degree. A high-level fighter was just as deadly as a high-level wizard in some areas. But the worst thing about it is that it became very much. We used to joke with my players, calling it running the macros, because I could tell you exactly how pretty much every combat would go. This character would open with this opener because it was more powerful if they did it before anybody else had a turn of doing that. This character would wait until this happened before this would trigger, and then when that happened, then that would trigger. And I got to the place where I'm like, I could probably not actually have the players here for this. I could just roll their dice because I know what choices they are going to make.
Yeah, everyone makes fun of a warlock always casts Eldritch Blast, but everyone's got their go-tos.
Yeah.
Like the druid was always going to turn into the most efficient thing, which is probably like some kind of elemental. Depends what they have access to, but there's going to be like a go-to. This is the tough thing I need to turn into.
It's. I always, and I think going back to the balance issue, I think the crucial thing is, and this is the problem that I think every single game is going to fall victim to at some point, is because you can't have everything completely balanced. If every choice is completely balanced, then the choice doesn't matter. If every choice is exactly the same as all the other ones, then it doesn't matter what I do; they're all going to be exactly the same. But the problem is that there's always going to be some things which are on the must-have variety. I've heard so many people say, "Oh, you're a bard with magical secrets and you haven't taken counterspell. Why haven't you taken counterspell? You need to take counterspell as a bard. It's important to do so." Or if you're playing a ranged character, why haven't you taken sharpshooter? You need to take sharpshooter, otherwise your character build doesn't work. And it's the spells or the feats or the features which are, in comparison to other options that you can take, unbalanced. I mean, there's not going to be. I'd love to have a look at the stats on D&D Beyond and see how many people have taken the Sharpshooter or Great Weapon Master feat as opposed to the Chef feat or the Dungeon Delver feat. You know, these things that give you minuscule bonuses in pretty much all aspects of it, on the social exploration or combat side. And, you know, from a gamer perspective, as you said earlier, as you alluded to earlier, people want to feel powerful. People want to feel good. People want to be the guys that nobody's going to play the homeless vagabond. They want to feel like they're making a difference in the world. And if you've got a choice of, okay, so I can shoot twice as far through the eye of a needle, doing more damage, or I always know whether it's a secret door or not.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that gets me about that vagabond is just the fact that it has non-skilled in its character class. Like, it's just an insult. But yeah. So there was another point I was going to make, but that just kind of pinged into my head. I think one of the issues I have with the balance as well is that it means, because it flattens that curve, that every player goes into a combat situation knowing that they are supposed to win, or at least knowing that they can win.
Yes.
And I feel like that encourages less creative choices, just because you know that you can win.
I tell you what also encourages less creative choices, and it's when, and this is part of it is down to a DM, and I fully appreciate that. Part of this is going to be down on me as a DM. But it's when I want to undo the chandelier and have it fall on the ogre. I'm like, cool, okay. So let's do that, and that's going to be like, okay, well that'll be right. Let's say 3d8 damage, and they're like, okay, is that done? I'm like, yeah, that's your turn. I'm like, well, if I'd have attacked twice, I'd have done like 4d8 plus 12 damage. So I won't be being creative again.
Yeah.
And you hit the absolute nail on the head when you did one of your skits, which I loved, and I must have watched far too many times. The whole guy that's describing sliding across and doing the uppercut and rolling nothing but 2s and 3s. The other guy goes, I roll, I hit, that's 27 damage, that's my turnover.
Yeah.
And this is just it. There's nothing, as a DM or as a GM, you want to reward the creative, I slide across, I do the uppercut and all that sort of stuff. But on the flip side, if you reward such creative behaviour, the people that are not quite so verbally fluent as others, or that don't necessarily have as much of an imagination, or they're still trying to learn the ropes, etc., they're going to almost have a not as fun time because, well, Kristian slid across the bar and gave the orc an uppercut with an advantage, so he's managed to do it. I don't know what to do. I just swing my sword, and they won't get the bonus. It's a slippery slope if you have different levels of skill and different types of players in the same game, and you're never going to have homogenized players.
Yeah, there was a I've got a little bit into TikTok, but I don't think I like it. But I responded to I'm too old.
As a cybersecurity professional, I encourage you to not like TikTok.
Yeah. But I responded to made a video response to someone who was making a video about how you shouldn't force players to attempt to be charismatic, or like the sketch that you made was, you can't, someone says I want to persuade the king to do something and rolls a dice, and the guy says, okay, but what did you say to the king? He says, I don't know, I got a 21, is that not good enough? And his argument was like, we shouldn't force players into those situations, you shouldn't force them to like have to role play. But I kind of we got into a little bit of conversation, and I said, okay, but at what point do you decide that you're just not going to reward players who do want to role play? Like, does the player that has an elaborate conversation with the king with a very persuasive argument get nothing for doing that? Are they just like more? It's so tricky.
I've had the person playing a non-charismatic character, and that was their whole thing. Is they wanted to play a taciturn ranger that was charisma was his dump stat, and he played him as a very brusque individual. But he was a military ranger. His backstory was, a decent backstory. He was a soldier of a previous war and all this sort of stuff. So he role played the character well. And then when he came to actually giving trying to persuade another, like a general, to do something that needed to be done, laid out a brilliant tactical argument, absolutely fantastic tactical argument, and actually, in character, and roll a persuasion check, I guess. And he rolled, and what can you do? I mean, you can drop the DC as much as you want. I say it's only going to be a DC 5 because you've talked so well. But then he rolls a 3 with a -1, and I know the dice always tell a story, but you want to, sometimes you almost feel like, well, that's just going to be an auto success because they've done really well. But on the flip side, then the people that don't have that capabilities get annoyed because they don't get those auto successes.
Yeah, you don't want to isolate people because you can't force people to be charismatic, as it were. And some people just won't want to do that, but that won't gel with their sort of thought processes. So you can't force them to do that. But you can't. It's just such a minefield of, unless you have five clones of the same person at the table who plays in the same way. Then
seeing what Nutramancer was putting into the chat, Fate handles well.
Fate does handle. That's the thing because it's a more narrative system. So something I was going to mention is before we flip off of D&D too much, is that I saw Brennan Lee Mulligan wrote an article or commented in an interview or something saying that he prefers to running D&D to those kind of systems because he doesn't need rules for narrative play. He knows that the people he's playing with can cover that already, which I think is that's sort of fair because he's playing with a lot of people who have a lot of improvisational skills, but also it's kind of a false argument because if you have you can balance your game well by having characters who have legitimate rules for doing those things. Like Fate's a good example. A Monster of the Week, which is the newest game I have, which I'm kind of getting into at the moment, where in Monster of the Week characters have specific unique skills, and you can all sort of try and fight and stuff, but some of them will just literally just have skills entirely based around being charming, and some will have skills entirely based around creating magic, and they can just do those things really well. There's mechanical ways in the game that they can do those things. Everyone can do the social element as much as they want, but those people will have mechanical advantages to actually doing them. And that means that those characters don't have to do the combat side of things. They don't have to do things. Whereas in like the balanced D&D system, everyone has to do everything. Because if you're not useful in combat, that's probably 2-3 hours of gameplay every session that you're not involved in. So I don't know. I forgot where I was going with that, but I think that's relevant to the point somewhere.
No, it is definitely, and this is why creating a game which everybody feels that everybody can create a character they want to create, yet still feel useful in all aspects of the game. That's the trick. That's the crucial thing, is that you cannot create a pacifist in D&D. You just can't.
Yeah.
You can, but then you really have to work on your spells. You can't do it you can't be a pacifist marshal for starters.
Well, I think what's a bigger flaw is you can't play a coward in D&D. Something that's interesting narratively to play a cowardly character. You couldn't play Shaggy from Scooby-Doo in D&D.
like Zoinks.
You have to play somebody who is prepared to fight and wants to fight and can fight. And that's fine. That's what the game is for. But
I mean, to be fair, you could play a coward in D&D, but you'd have to make sure that the party are perfectly okay with you not participating in fights. Yeah. And the GM would have to design a game which is not necessarily that particularly combat orientated. But we're going back to the ham sandwich type thing again, isn't it? Is if you want to play D&D without the combat, then why are you playing D&D?
Yeah. But yeah, no, the Neutromancer's point about how fate works. Those narrative systems, they're ultimately it's because they're punchier, I guess, because they don't like a combat scene in Fate can take 10 minutes, can last just a single round if the player's like strategically positioning themselves. Monster of the Week, which again I'm reading a lot of because I'm running it a lot at the moment, every session is intended to be its own story, and you're trying to find the monster in that kind of Buffy the Vampire Slayer supernatural kind of setting. But you can't defeat the monster until you've figured out what its weakness is. So you can fight it as much as you want, but until the players have figured out what its weakness is, they can't actually kill it. So it squashes combat down to this kind of single concept of like, we only need to do this one thing to win.
As soon as we find out what that one thing is,
we've just got to get to it. Whereas like the trad games are war games at heart, so they have to grind it out a bit, and everybody needs to be able to be good at that. Everybody needs to be contributing to that, because otherwise the grind will go on forever. You can't defeat
this problem that I've got. Yeah, the issue that I have with high level D&D is that the only way, when the players, and half of this is my fault because I like designing really cool magic items, and so the players are having really cool magic items as well, and the amount of damage that these fairly heavily optimized high level D&D characters could do, we're talking hundreds of damage in a round. If they focus fire, all 5 of them going at once could easily top 500 damage in a round. Easily. No questions asked. And then how on earth do you create something that challenges them? Because of course you put the big bad on the table. You put the dragon, the beholder, the lich, whatever you're going to put on the table is like, here's the big bad guy, and I'm going to surround him with minions. So, there's more things on the battlefield, and they just go, well, we're just going to focus fire on the big bad guy. And then how do you... constantly having to work out ways in which I could challenge them. We even had to get meta at one point because they were obviously planning their final battle, and they were saying we could do this, we could do this, we could do this, we could spend this resource, we could do this. We could basically come up with a long list of things that they could do to make their battle easier for them. And all half of it was in character on the actual tabletop when we were playing the game, and half of it was via WhatsApp pinging backwards and forwards. And I had to sort of like pull back the curtain and say, look, guys, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I love everything that you're doing. It's brilliant. It's fantastic. But you've got to know, if you are going to do X, Y, and Z to make the final battle easier for you, because you're going to put this into place, you're going to do this instead, you're going to do this, then I'm clearly going to have to up something else to make it a viable challenge for you. At the moment, it goes back down to the balance again, I guess, is that the moment we're here, it's got to be bad guy, good guy, who's going to win. It's going to come down to tactics and roll of the dice. I want the good guys to win. Of course I do. It's a 3.5-year game. I want there to be a great solution to the game. But at the same time, ain't nobody in that group are wanting a steamroller. Nobody's wanting to go into the final epic battle of a 3.5-year 1-20 campaign and kill the guy within a couple of rounds. They don't want that. They want it knocked down. They want to earn their victory. So every time they did this, to spend resources and do stuff to basically make it easier, I had to ratchet up and behind the screen, so it was still going to be that. So I had to say, look, guys, the more you do on this, the more of your resources, the more of your plannings and the stuff that you do to try and make it easier for yourselves, it's going to be a net same result. Because I've got to make the encounter hard, tough, but winnable. Yeah. And that's it. As a GM, that's what you've got to do. It's not for every encounter, but when it is the final battle of the campaign, that's the goal. It's got to be tough. It's going to be really difficult, but it's got to be winnable. That's the balance. That's what you've got to try and do. Yeah, and this is what I mean when I sort of rally against the concept of balance. Because if in that video game way, you're always, the game is always balancing itself to match the players. It's almost like the players never actually get any better, because they're always just moving into a new zone where things are still able to kill them. I'm not disagreeing with you, and I can totally see where you're coming from. But the problem that you've got is that people who are playing the game, they want to be good. They want to be the heroes. They want to be the winners. They want to be the conquerors of the world, the saviors of the world, however you do it. But they also don't want to do it too easy. Nobody wants to. Well, I guess you can sort of like turn a cheat mode on in games. But if you're playing a game, and I played Skyrim far too much. And then at one point I had so many mods on Skyrim that it was just too easy. I had all the really cool stuff that was going on, and I'm like, this isn't any form of challenge for me anymore. I'm almost one-shotting giants because I've got all these mods and all this cool stuff involved. And I just stopped playing because there was no challenge for me. And this is the problem that you've got, because the PCs want to be super powerful. They want to be, the saviors of the world. They want to be, wearing the Hulkbuster armor and kicking ass and taking names. But if you put N-scale Iron Man in the Hulkbuster armor and all the other stuff versus Obadiah Stane, the very first baddie he fought, it's ridiculous. It's a wipeout. And it's the same for the PCs. The bad guys need to progress as well to still keep it that level of, this is tough but enjoyable, and I'm earning my victories. And yet, fine, occasionally throw in what I refer to as the curb stomp. Sometimes you throw in the bandits against the level 7 characters and just watch them wipe the floor with them, because sometimes you do want to feel super powerful. But when it comes to like the very structured and controlled and not really properly D&D that was the weekend that I had everybody over, I have to, it's got to be, this is the final battle of the game, guys. This is the denouement of our big campaign. It has to be right. It can't be too deadly and they lose. It can't be too easy in the steamroller, because nobody's going to enjoy that. They want to earn that final victory. And it almost felt like it wasn't real D&D at that point, because it had to be done to a certain degree to make it make sense and make it feel right. It's certainly when we were streaming as well, when Emily and I were streaming D&D on a Sunday evening, it wasn't really D&D. It was telling, like same for the Critical Role in Dimension 20. They're all telling a story. Yes, fine, it might be D&D, it might be using the D&D mechanics, but they're creating entertainment first and foremost, more than playing a game. Did you ever feel that way when you were running the Fate? When you were running Fate for us, did you ever feel like this isn't really a Fate game? I'm actually we're putting on a show more than we're playing a game?
To some degree, but it's because it's a narrative system. And I do think that Dimension 20 is the seasons of Dimension 20 that are not D&D are better. I think that the looser systems fit their style better. Despite what Brennan Lee Mulligan says, I think that those seasons just work mechanically, make more sense to what they want to do. But I to some degree it was kind of like, well, I've got to make sure that everyone gets the right amount of moments and everything out, and the story. It's I mean, it's kind of how I run anyway, but it's about trying to intuit what the players want, what would interest them, without like having to sit down and ask. But there's nothing wrong with sitting down and asking your players what they would like to achieve. I've done that with my my Monday night group before. I've said in private chats, like, what would you like this storyline to how would you like this storyline to turn out for your character? And they've replied like, oh, I'd really like, I kind of like that NPC, maybe we could have like a romance or whatever. And I've said, okay, I'll figure out, add that into the story. They may well betray you never know, but like, I will work around what I would like you to want. So it's a lot of like trying to intuit what you think the players would enjoy, or what you think they're angling for.
Oh, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, whether it's just a performance on stream show or a normal game, there definitely needs to be that level of communication between the players and the DMs and the GMs. So it's like, what do you want? What sort of fun do you want to have?
Yeah.
Because you've got to make sure that I've got to make sure that I'm running a game that people want to play. So I've got my style of game. I know it is very rare that I'll change my style of game to suit other people, because I run the game how I want to run the game. But you certainly have those questions. People are like, what do you want to do? So when Emily was when we were doing the Edge of Chaos, the streaming game, I want, what did Emily want in her character? What did you want to do? Where did you want her to go? What sort of stuff? Not just backstory stuff, but things you wanted to experience in the game.
Yeah, just sort of overall character arcs that you want to be building towards.
Yeah. It's not like, I'm not saying, tell me what you're going to be doing when you get to level 7 or level 8 or level 9 or whatever. I
don't know.
I really don't like it when players have mapped out their 1 to 20, because it feels like... So what you're telling me is that nothing that happens in our game is going to change your idea. You're not going to, you're not going to suddenly become a paladin because the game's turned, sort of like has got this storyline, and you decided you're going to be... Yeah.
Sometimes you have to build a character, and then all of a sudden, oh, your patron is gone now. I'm just a girl. I'm just a gal alone in the world.
I mean,
I'm a level 8 commoner.
What cool DM would do such a thing?
Who would ever do that, Kristian?
She's a level 8 vagabond, no skill.
Non-skilled vagabond. That's you now.
I'll take it. We'll take this offline.
That's another funny thing about Rifts, is that, just to show, I don't know what it just popped into my head, if I can find it quickly, is that every player character type levels up at different speeds.
Oh, jeez. What a nightmare. Although, to be fair, saying that, the Fantasy Flight games that I was referring to earlier kind of does the same. So it's not like you've leveled up to level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Neutromancer is not a fan of Rifts. The way that Fantasy Flight games works is at the end of every session or milestone, XP is given out. And it's not milestone XP like I think most people do in D&D, where they just say, right, you finished the adventure, you've leveled up. It's literally, right, you've got 7 XP this session, you've got 3 XP this session, you've got 5 XP this session, you've done really well.
Do you give different XP to different players?
Don't give different XP to different players. They all get.
But it depends on which players are there that session.
Yeah, if players skip sessions, they might miss it. But the thing is that players then use that XP either there and then or save it up. So certain skills cost, it's like 5 times the level of skill you're just about to buy. So you're buying skill at level 2, it'll cost you 10 XP. Buying it at level 3, it'll cost you 15 XP. Different talents go up the talent tree, so the more important talents are at, or the best talents are 25, then 20, then 15, 10, and 5. And you can even buy other careers or buy other classes, multi-class effectively. So the players are doing that, whilst they're all technically getting the same XP or thereabouts each time. they'll be getting, I've got a new skill this time round, or I've got a new talent this time round, or I'm actually saving up to buy a new career in 2 or 3 sessions' time. So whilst they're not leveling up at different speeds, there certainly is no, like, hey, everybody, what have you taken for your level 9? You know, every week is a case of, oh, right, so you've bought 2 more ranks in that. Oh, right, you've taken that as well. So it is certainly a lot more maths, well, not maths involved, a lot more logistics involved than milestone 5e leveling. But yeah, so rifts, they level up at different... What?
That's the level up charts for all the character cards from the base book. Everyone's got their own, like... So level 2 at 1,900 experience. This one's at 2,100 experience. Who's the biggest gap?
I've got to ask, the non-skilled vagabond, when do they level up?
They level
I
up
need to know these things.
At 1,875 experience, which is the lowest.
What do they get?
The
when
highest
they
is a
level-
dragon. If you play a dragon, you don't level up until you get to 3,000 experience.
So the non-skilled vagabond has almost upgraded twice by the time the first...
Yeah, pretty much.
But what can a level
It's such
2
a strange...
non-skilled vagabond
Probably
do?
not a lot, to be
White
fair.
is good
Yeah,
at doing nothing.
that's probably the vague logic and how they thought, yeah, the game would work. But it's just such a bizarrely unbalanced game. Nutrimancer is not wrong to call it the nightmare game. It's such a... I love it because I've got a lot of nostalgia because it's what I started with. But that's because I run it in the way that I run games, which is always very loosely. It's basically a traditional D20 game that you have to run as a narrative game because the rules don't make any sense. So you can't run it. You can't run it as the rules are written because that doesn't work.
Nice.
I'm going to leave you in the wonderful hands of Emily whilst I put my daughter to bed.
Oh, I already did.
You did?
Yeah, that's when I came in.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to go say goodnight, obviously you can.
I'm going to say goodnight to my daughter.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, stepmother. Mwah.
Ew. I mean, how delightful.
EDA, gross. Ew. Go away.
How are you?
I'm doing all right. I am very tired, but hey, that's life after 30, isn't it, huh?
Apparently so. So, no, life after 40. Give me another year and a bit.
Oh, yeah. I've still got a few before that. But yeah. So I've heard bits of what you've been chatting about, but I don't know what the current just conversation topic is.
Deep
Just
diving.
chatting about
Deep
life.
diving. You've not been running games for that long, really, have you?
No.
Sort of a new you're a new DM.
Yeah, I hated it and almost wanted to quit, and then I had a really good experience a couple weeks ago, and now I'm like, oh, this is why people like doing this.
Okay. What was that then? How's that? What was the story there? What was? Is
Yeah,
it just
I
too
mean-
much at first?
I think so. I really enjoyed it the first couple times I did it because it was sort of with people I already knew really well, and so it was just purely just having fun, and the people knew the rules, and it was all that. It was all great. But then for a while, I kept running a series of games for like various people that A, I didn't know, and B, they didn't know the game real well, and they also, on the third strike, that made them not as. I mean, it was fine. It was not awful, but they were not nearly as much into the role play as you know from playing games with me I like to be.
Right.
So I'd like put this really cool NPC in front of them and be like, yeah, let's talk. And I've planned, I'm like, okay, they're probably gonna be talking to this guy for like 20 minutes, and they'd go and be like, hi, that's nice. What's next? What do we have to do? What do we have to kill next? I'm like, well, that's boring. Fine, I guess you can go kill something. But yeah, and just sort of like I'd planned a certain amount of things, and then they just like burned through all of that because they didn't want to spend time on anything. But yeah, then a couple weeks ago, I ran a game for people who I didn't already know, so they were new to me, but they were just very much on my level of shenanigans that I want from a game. That they're here, they know their characters, they're here for the mechanics, but also, wait, this guy's funny. Let's just sit here and chat to you for a while.
Yeah.
which
This is why when I approach Start Playing and when I talk to Roldark about running games with them, I just I went back and forth about it a lot, but I have settled on that I just don't want to run D&D because it's just too tricky to run that kind of game with strangers because you don't know what you're going to get. Whereas if I say if I post a game of Fate and I say this is how the game works, it's this very loose narrative. It's about ideas rather than dice rolls. The players come into that knowing that's the game they're going to play. They're not coming into I've got my barbarian with the such and such feat who can do this and this and this, and that's how I want it. They're not going to clash against each other because they know the playing field. They know what kind of game they're coming to play.
No one's going to go to a Fate game wanting a hack and slash.
Yeah.
People go because they want the story and the role playing and all that.
And even though there's a larger audience, I just sort of I just can feel like how you would have experienced that at some point I'm going to hit a group or some players who my style is just not going to work for, which is totally fair. D&D is very hack and slash. You can sword and sorcery it up. That's perfectly valid way to play it, but it is not going to work for me.
Yeah, that's sort of where I'm at. I am perfectly competent. I'm able to run a game like that. I just don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I think the thing is that certainly from a paid perspective, and yes, I do think there are other games I probably prefer to run. I'm very much enjoying running my Fantasy Flight Star Wars game. Sunday evenings, every other Sunday, start playing games. Put me up. Actually, don't. I'm full, so don't ignore that.
There's probably a waiting list, though.
There could be a waiting. No, but the problem is that D&D is what people want to play, and
that's where the money is.
That's where the money is, and as much as it's one of those things that I've gotten used to having a regular subsidized income. Very much it's not anything massive, but it's enough to pay the broadband in the house, my mobile phone bill, to cover my crippling Patreon edition, and have a little bit extra left over from time to time to buy Emily something nice,
like my new headphones.
Like your new headphones.
Totally a business expense.
Totally a business expense. But the
just
point
use them
being
while
is
we're
that
streaming, then they're a business expense.
That's basically what I'm doing. Yeah. Oh, Caden's back.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, my son's just arrived back. Back in a bit.
No worries.
So we're totally professional.
Totally
It's all right.
professional.
We're having a chill discussion. I like it.
Yeah, we're just having a chill discussion.
Oh no,
Yeah.
we ran out of things to say.
Yeah, did. What? So what was the plans for the stream? Was this just chatting? Was it
yeah,
talking about games?
pretty much just
playing
bouncing
games?
off of a few talking points that I had in mind, which we kind of is what we're doing. Yeah. It's just a little chill because I'm so because we travel for the expo obviously on Thursday, but we've got to go to my mum and dad's on Tuesday because they've got all the promotional materials because my brother is dropping all. So my brother's on holiday. He goes on holiday tomorrow and gets back on Thursday. So he can't get to the expo till Friday. So he's dropped all of the promotional materials off at my mum and dad's. We've got to go there on Tuesday so that we can sort that out on Wednesday and then travel up to Birmingham on Thursday. So I'm just in the process of it's 7 days to the expo, but it's only 3 days until I have to be ready to travel to my first destination.
So many logistics.
Yeah.
Sorry, somebody else wants to say hello.
That's fine.
Hello there.
Blurry person in the background.
Or is he blurred? Wahahaha. Got
I
three
guess
heads
there's
in the middle there.
a range. It doesn't like you. Skype doesn't like you.
Skype doesn't like him. Cool.
Fair enough.
Caden does not wish to be perceived. Let's be real.
Yeah.
It's a stealth.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
stealth roll.
Caden's going for the old stealth look.
But yeah, we've got our flyers made. We've got badges. We've got
What's this for? I missed it.
a big stand.
stand.
We've got our massive massive stand with 2 prototype copies of the game.
Giving out merch to people.
Oh well, the badges. Yeah. So that's our only
That's merch.
merch at the moment. It would be nice to have more copies of the game so that we could give them to reviewers, but that's a print run that we can't do at the moment.
You might have already talked about this, but how do you get a game printed? Like, where do you
We
go to
haven't
get
talked
like
about that,
tokens?
We actually haven't talked about the board game. We did it up top, but then we kind of got deviated into our favorite subject of just ranting about TTRPGs.
Yeah, I've heard that one a few times.
I mean, yeah, the very original
yeah.
one, very original one, like I was saying to Face earlier, is that I've got a handmade copy somewhere, but I think I put it in storage. I looked for it today, but I think it must be in storage. But yeah, this version, so over the years we've had ones printed, just made at print shops. We just made designs, just literally had them printed and cut them out ourselves. But this is a properly printed, two properly printed copies that we got through Board Game Maker, the website.
Okay.
Which is not a particularly
looked at
cheap.
that.
It's not a cheap way to make a game.
No, I had to look at that when I was looking at trying to get custom dice made for Furpug. Or Faces RPG, which Emily's christened Furpug and is annoyingly stuck.
I'd play Furpug. You do good acronym like GURPS and things. You get a good acronym going on.
I mean, now you've said it on the internet, so it's stuck.
No,
The internet is forever.
no,
It is Furpug.
it's not Furpug. Christian,
Come
help!
up with a better
help.
name then.
Fantasy roleplay game.
Anyway,
Anyway,
so you
sorry.
got this from the website.
The yeah, no, but we're in talks with a producer, a mass producer in China, who can do a big print run. But they only do massive print runs, so it's kind of a thing of like, Kickstarter to get X amount of X thousands of pounds, then we can do this huge print run. That then
And
will
obviously
go out.
get that commitment of X amount of people actually want to buy this game before you print a billion of them.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, apologies in advance. We're going to be buying one copy between us. We're not going to be buying one each. That'd just be a bit ludicrous.
That's fine.
We'll just put it on our wedding list.
Yeah.
They want to buy us a copy.
Everyone buys a copy of the end. This is what we want.
And then we say, oh, oops, we meant to only put one copy on, so you can keep that. And then they become addicted to it, and that's how we get the player base up. I'm a marketing genius.
Yeah, the people invited to our wedding is not exactly a massive amount of...
But they're a concentrated amount of gaming nerds.
You're invited to our wedding. If you're watching this and you're prepared to buy Trouble on the Tempest, you are invited to our wedding.
I mean, I wouldn't
We're
guarantee.
about to just like blast our wedding details.
I
on
wouldn't
the
have
internet.
I wouldn't like to guarantee the game's out by then either, to be honest, because we just don't know. We don't know how this is going to turn out. I really want to get by the end of June. I really want to, with the boost from the expo, if we want to get my YouTube to 2,000 subscribers, and ideally over 100 watchers on the Kickstarter, and then just sort of build up from there. So,
Ooh, what message does Kaylee approve?
I think
just saw it
what
in
you
the
were
chat.
just saying about the wedding scam. I don't know.
Nice.
I'm guessing anyway.
Maybe for my other creative plan I've currently got burbling under, maybe we could utilise, maybe we stream on Kristian's channel.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were gonna go. Maybe we use that for the wedding as well. And I was like, mate, what are you doing?
No. I'm going
You're going to stream the wedding on my channel. That's what you're saying, right?
I mean,
That's where I thought he was going, and I was very confused.
I mean, if you think it would have content, sure.
I mean, I'm on TikTok now. There's all sorts of weird shit on there that I'm like, why is anybody watching any of this nonsense?
Do you make TikTok dances? Tell the truth.
Oh, please
Why,
make TikTok.
how did that become a thing and why? I just
I
don't
don't
understand.
know if I really want to see Kristian do some TikTok
As a
dances.
cybersecurity professional, I am automatically against TikTok. But I'm telling you now, if you start doing TikTok dances, I will throw caution to the wind, and I will download it, and I will subscribe to you, sir.
Fair enough. I'll think about it. Not hard, but I'll think about it. I can do them ironically, right?
Sorry, my son is just yelling from off screen. Subscribe and hit that like button. He's watched far too many YouTube videos.
Smash that like button. It does something to the
Hit the bell.
algorithm. I've never bothered to learn how the algorithm works, but it does something.
You know what?
All I know
I'm
is that doing this is good.
I'm going to smash that like button right now. There we go. I am officially liking this video.
Yay.
Very good. That's what I like to hear.
There you go.
Does that like boost the algorithm? Does
I have no idea.
that
Emily,
mean-
like it as well.
I'm gonna like it.
Neutromancer, Kaylee.
We have 4 likes, so somebody liked it.
Do we?
I already liked it.
Oh, did you?
We have 5 likes now.
Okay, obviously
My
it's
phone
just
says.
my phone only says my thing only says
This,
1.
I say it from when we did the fiasco stream. This is so much easier to do now that I have 2 screens. Because I did that fiasco stream on 1 screen.
I mean, seriously, once you have 3 screens, you don't look back.
3 screens? Actually, I've seen that set up before, but I'm like, yeah, that's like a hardcore.
To be fair, when I was streaming D&D, I would have Foundry, the one on the main screen with the camera above it exactly where it is. I'd have on the right-hand screen, I'd have the Skype call, and on the left-hand screen, I'd have all of my notes and all of the chat with the producers and the various notes and the rules and stuff on the left-hand screen. And I didn't actually have to Alt-Tab. I could always have all 3 in full view at once. I could maybe I could fit some more monitors on here somewhere.
Yeah, I know you've been saying it.
I know I could fit some more on here. There's still some space that's not covered by a monitor.
See, I wouldn't need that left-hand screen, the one with the notes and the rules on it. So I don't obey either of those things.
Your notes are just in your brain.
My notes are very loose, and I don't know the rules or care to learn them.
That's what the players are for. That's the best. That's also another bit that I liked about the group that I was talking about a couple weeks ago. That they did all of the management amongst themselves.
What group? This is
Well, my
your
group. You had the
group.
newbies, and I had the veterans. So they were just like, okay, yeah, so I do this. Oh, and remember that I have advantage. Okay, great, cool. Oh, they were like asking each other, like, oh, what should I do here? I'm like, you do all that. I'm here for vibes and the bad guys.
I do think
Whereas I
that
was
new
more like-
players are great. Like when I running games at cafes, I do like new players because so many players have come into the hobby from actual play shows, so they are much more like game for a laugh, or like kind of goofing around in character because that's kind of how they've learnt the game.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So I've never had an issue, never had a clash at a cafe game, like an in-person game.
Everybody's just here for a good time, having a laugh. It's all good.
I've never really had many problems at any paid game, in all honesty.
Yeah, I never had problems. I was just saying how I ran into a rut of a few games.
Yes, this is fair.
It's just a style that doesn't mesh with you. It's nothing against the players or whatever, even the game. It's just like if you butt heads with a style, particularly in something.
Yeah, I mean it's
like D&D.
I mean, I very much enjoy playing in your Fate game, Kristian. I can guarantee that I would just not gel with your D&D style,
Oh yeah.
and almost certainly vice versa.
The thing is, though, when I play D&D, because I started the hobby playing Warhammer, so I'm a wargamer. That's how I began. So when I play
That's fair.
D&D, I always play pretty much martial classes, and I'm always just like, how can I get the most efficient amount of combat into my
So
thing
you're a
here?
power
So
gamer as a player.
it's weird, right? That's weird, right? Like the last time I played D&D, I played a Triton fighter who was obsessed with axes, and my goal was just make as many axe attacks in a turn as possible.
Nice.
Fair.
Yeah, I feel like Kristian would fare better in your D&D games than you would fare in his. I think you would get very bored and annoyed with our group.
It is odd.
Yeah,
It is an odd mix.
I'm
Odd
all about the
switch.
role play.
Uh-huh. There's a lot of interpersonal drama.
I'm okay with the interpersonal drama. It's fine. I was making up shit on the fly in Edge of Chaos. Yeah. I was making up I was that close to making a character for Vic to fall in love with.
You already had.
Had I? Actually, did she fall in love with Dora? Oh, yeah, but no, as in the new one. Dora. And Dora falling in love with Hildebrand?
Yeah.
Did she fall in love with her?
Yeah.
Dope! And that's Vic.
We were all in love with Hilda.
Yeah.
I mean, Dora and Hilda were.
Dora and Hilda
They
were.
were flirting.
They were definitely
There was
flirting.
some flirting going
There was
on.
flirting, yeah. It's always fun to flirt with Vic.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, no spoiler, but Emily was going into the season 1 with like, so the Fate game that you'll all be watching. I'm not going to say anything, but Emily's plan going into it was like, I'm going to flirt with Vic. That was basically what's your intention for Fate?
That's my plan in life.
Yeah, I know.
It's just so fun.
Yeah. I mean, the worst thing is that Emily's already decreed that if her and Vic are unmarried at the age of 90, they're going to get married.
I mean, that's long-term planning. That is.
It is. I mean, by the time Emily's 90, I'm in my hundreds, so I'm out of the picture.
I was going to say, yeah, we have shorter lifespans anyway, so it's just like basically just planning.
That's the reason why I made it so high, because I was like, well, I mean, you know, I'm planning on being with you, you know.
Until I die.
Exactly.
In about.
Or I die tragically young.
You'd make a very hot corpse.
This is getting weird.
What's wrong with you?
This got weird.
It just got weird. I just want to see that expression on your face.
In front of the entire internet.
Yeah.
My millions of viewers and subscribers.
The entire internet. There are 3 people watching now, but people can find this later.
People can find this later.
This is on the internet forever.
This is true. Actually, Kristian, let me put you. I mentioned that I had a new cunning thought process in my currently bubbling.
Sure.
And so this is something that I've run via Rolldark, and I think Rob liked it. But I'm not sure how much he's going into it. And the more I think about it, the more I think that actually, you know what, this is something that I want to kind of like take point on. And I kind of like I want to see whether I can create. It's kind of like I started looking at doing it with my most recent D&D campaigns, but it never really took off. I'm aiming to try and get into like a whole shared world type narrative, where there is one D&D world, and it's going to be D&D probably because that's what people want to play. Homebrew world, but different game masters are playing in the same world at the same time, both in game and out of game. And it's kind of like controlled by a lore master, for want of a better phrase, right? Okay, Kristian, your game's running up to the 3rd of the blood moon. Face, your game's running up to like the mid-month of that sort of stuff. And actually creating a shared narrative with multiple different games all happening at the same time in the world. And so if I make up a tavern, I've then got to write up the tavern, so when Emily's group goes to the same place, that tavern already exists. So gradually, slowly but surely generating and getting a bigger and bigger world. And then possibly 2 eventual and not mutually exclusive results of this is the one, you can have the big community events where all the games come together in a place very much like the mega game that you ran. And all the groups come together and have one, have like 6 or 7 D&D games happening at exactly the same time, all to the final battle. And you could also have a streaming game where the people who are playing in the world get to watch another game that's happening in the world, and they go, "Oh, that was my adventuring party," and then talk about the black bridge that fell down and stopped the orcs from getting in. That was us. That was me. That was our group. And you're slowly but surely destroying your office.
There's so much noise outside my window. It had to be being picked up.
This is fair.
What's MacGyver doing now?
It's outside.
No, it's something. There's like they're getting a delivery at the restaurant downstairs or something.
Yeah, MacGyver does deliveries now.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's
None of them have come in.
That's my concept, is to try and have this this shared world where multiple GMs run at the same time, with the extra effort of having to kind of like keep updating a world anvil or something similar. That's my current.
It's an idea for sure. Like something sort of vaguely similar crossed my mind once, and then I was like, yeah, I don't have the energy to organise that. So I immediately kind of before I got too invested in the idea, I just sort of quickly threw it away because I knew it's like a quite heavy one. But yeah, no, it's definitely like an idea. I only vaguely know what a West Marches campaign is.
So
that's like it's like a drop in, drop out kind of players drop in, drop out
West
kind of
Marches,
game.
and I might be getting this wrong, but my understanding of it, it is player-led GM follows, if that makes sense. So the whole concept is you are marching westward. The map stops at the frontier town, and then you choosing to go on forward. And it's almost like a hex crawl westward. But then you kind of like say, oh, the Jade Tower at the edge of the stormy marsh. We want to go and investigate that. Hey, everybody, let's get a group together. Right, we've got a group together. You, Kristian, run us an adventure where we're going to investigate the Jade Tower, please.
Yeah, so it's kind of a rotating. It's more about the rotating players groups than okay. So it's less about the GM collaboration and more just like I get okay.
I mean, to be fair, there probably
it's
is a bit.
very exploration led,
Yeah.
from what I've heard,
Um,
rather than a plot led.
Yeah. Whereas I think in my cunning plan there needs to be, because there are going to be people that do want to do the exploration, that do want to march westward, for want of a better phrase. So I'm still umming and ahhing about how we'd set that up. I might take the idea I had for Edge of Chaos, which is the streaming game we did for Old Dark 2 years ago, and the rest
2, 3, 3.
3.
Coming on 3.
Damn. The whole concept of that was that you had the material plane, and then there was like another plane on top of that called Chaos that you could get to via stable portals. And obviously, if they found the stable portal, then it was worth its weight in gold. And I think the first adventure that the group had was they found the new stable portal. And the whole concept of that is you've got the best of both worlds. You've got the material plane. You've got the intricate politics and all that sort of stuff for those people that want to play those sort of games. But you can also go into this new plane of chaos, and you can do the West Marches, and you can build the world around this central hub of stable portals and branching out. And then you could literally have a desert next to Antarctic, next to a jungle, next to a swamp. You don't have to worry about geography, which my which my OCD would not allow to have a jungle right next to Antarctica, because it just doesn't make sense. So you wouldn't have to worry about that because it's all magic. So you could have the best of both worlds if you played it like that.
I like the idea, but almost if it was on a small scale, like say that there are multiple games running in the same. I don't know how to work it. If they were running just in the same city but interacting with different parts of the city, because then the changes would be more obvious.
I think you could certainly scale it down so you start off with, because everybody you start in a tavern sort of thing. You could certainly make all the adventuring parties kind of like, here's the big wide world, but we're going to be it's going to be based mainly in Christian Imperial or something like that. What's
You'd have to run it in a way, wouldn't you?
Yeah. What's Umdar that Neutromancer said there? I've never heard of Umdar.
I don't know what that is either.
Quick to the Google.
If you don't know, then I don't know, because your knowledge of D&D will be much greater
I
than
don't
mine.
think this is D&D.
Oh, is it? Okay. Or maybe
Masters
it's
under a randomized fate dice system to create a wide variety of sci-fi fantasy characters. And whilst I'm not disagreeing, I think that sort of stuff, I think Fate certainly does lead itself very much to these sort of games. I will be trying to do this as, because it's going to require a lot of work and effort, and I'm brutally honest, I'd like to get compensation for it. And D&D is where it is. D&D is where the money is, and so like it or loathe it, you are more likely to sell, as has been experienced. You're more likely to sell D&D tickets than you are Fate Masters of Umdar.
The hierarchical structure, though, in something like Fate, where the player characters can be wildly disparate, you could have a player group that literally includes the king and their advisors amongst the players. You could have another group that's just some merchants, another group of knights having to do important quests.
Well, the crucial
another group of non-skilled vagabonds.
Well, Emily's character, yeah.
My level 8 commoner.
Your level 8 commoner. The issue
Because there's no
is,
need for balance. Those games
Yeah.
don't require that level of balance, so that you can have the players be wildly disparate.
This is true, and yet that would be beneficial, because one of the things I'm hoping is that they might finish a game with Kristian, and then the next campaign, there's maybe Emily's doing an 8-week campaign that's going off to investigate the you know, the Fever Jewel jungle. Oh, I fancy doing that, and then people can actually move between campaigns fairly easily, because obviously every GM will be using the same like Adventurers League rules or something similar to that. So you could move between different campaigns, because there'd have to be an agreement amongst the GMs about what sort of game they're going to be running in terms of, because what you don't want is you don't want somebody to say, oh, in our last game we've got the deck of many things, let's draw from it now, and then completely and totally ruin whatever
You
you've
pull
got.
it out and it falls to ash, nothing happens.
Yeah, because you'd have to end up doing that. So there had to be like an agreement amongst the GMs to effectively work on the same power level to a degree. I think that's going to be something that's interesting.
But that's the advantage you have with, say, Fate, simply because you don't have all the players are characters are effectively people, as opposed to like I've got 100 hit points and you've only got 10. Like anyone can be killed by basically anything, because you're just kind of physically you're probably a relatively normal vulnerable person, or at least you have your vulnerabilities. Even even if one player's Superman, he can still be killed just by very specific things.
Yeah.
And it's instantaneous if someone's got that thing. So I think that potentially solves. It doesn't have to be Fate, of course, but potentially that a system like that maybe solves some of those problems.
I think the problem is, as many problems as it'll solve, it'll create a whole lot more when it comes to logistics, because the more well-known systems like D&D, onboarding D&D players,
Sorry, I just saw the comments.
I saw that comment as well. With D&D players, you don't have to onboard them quite as much. If you're playing Fate, then every single time someone's changing the character, you need to have that session 0 and do that whole character creation type thing. So
that's the problem with Fate, is that session 0 is so intensive.
Yeah, and it's great. Don't get me wrong. When we did session 0 with Emily, Vic, JC, and Anna, it was great. It was a session in and of itself. But I think if you start bringing in the more esoteric RPGs out there, first of all, you're going to limit the number of people that want to play it, because obviously the more popular they are, the more people want to play it. You're then going to limit the number of GMs that are going to be capable of running it and feel comfortable running it, because you need to have, I am not comfortable enough to run a paid Fate game. I've played it, I enjoy it, I've read the rules, and I'm looking forward to running it with Emily and everybody. But I am not at the level where I could be like, yeah, I could charge people for my time on Fate. I'm good enough on Fate that I feel good, that I'm egotistical enough, because no disrespect to any page GM, but we have to be fairly egotistical to think, yeah, I'm good enough at this that people are prepared to pay me, and I don't feel bad about taking their money. I can do that on D&D. I can do that on Fantasy Flight. I don't think I could do that on Fate.
Not yet.
Not yet. I'd have to play a lot more Fate games before I was comfortable for it. So that's the whole. So I think that's why, no matter how many times I go around the houses and look at it at various different things. I mean, hell, even using my own Furpug system would be great. It would not be as populated or popular as running D&D is. So all the issues that we've got and the various complaints that we have on a fairly regular basis, it ain't going to get, all of switching to anything else just causes too many issues that aren't going to be solved. It might solve the niggles and complaints we have with 5e, but it'll just raise up all the other issues when it comes to trying to create a shared world and a shared narrative, and a group of DMs are all working together in a similar fashion. But yeah,
what you mean.
Yeah, but if I do get it off the ground, and I do manage to find some like-minded people that want to be involved, then I will probably tap into your fan base and see if anybody's interested. And if we do ever stream it, maybe we could stream it on your channel.
I think if you stream D&D on Kristian's Brain's channel, it would just explode. You get so many downloads.
No, it's worth it. Yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it. discussion, highlight things. It's one of those things those ideas that's almost too big for like you to figure out on your own.
Yeah, I mean,
Which is why I abandoned it before I'd even had time to think about it.
but I'm not on my own. I have an Emily.
And
Ah.
we've got a few other people.
And we have a few other people who are also interested as
We've
well.
already
Yeah, no, it's a
discussed.
cool idea.
Yeah, there are some discussions in the works. Yeah.
There's something there for sure.
Yeah. Watch this space, fans of Kristian's Brain.
Fair enough.
So when
Cool
are we having the big launch party? When is season 1 dropping?
I want to get this War of Mine up. I'll probably run that up fairly quickly, to be honest. I'll probably get that up in like a couple of weeks. Just run it every few days, just release an episode. And then then season 2. What have I put down at the moment? I've got. Well, so at the moment it's on the 14th, June 14th, but that might get pushed back. But yeah, late June is the theory.
Did you ever actually film?
like I say-
Did you ever film season 2? By the way,
No. I lost the cameras, didn't we? Lost
Yeah.
access to everything.
I wasn't sure on the timing wise.
Just before we were in the process of planning it, the Cthulhu one.
Yeah.
And then everything it all went tits up. But,
Well, if you want to do a 1 year later for our season 1, I think we'd be up for that.
I'm gonna play my character again. They were awesome.
Your character was awesome. My character was amazing. I love Nathaniel.
I mean, yeah.
Nathaniel is, without a shadow of a doubt, my favourite character I've ever made to play.
oh,
Well, no spoilers, but the whole concept for Nathaniel was I wanted to see, could you create a paladin type character that was a good man, a good, honourable, decent individual that everybody looked up to and liked, without being a stick up your ass,
Boring.
killjoy, boring person. And I think I did okay. But yeah, Jaina, Mimosas. Once Jaina watches it, I have no doubt that she will want to appear in season 2 as playing my daughter or Nathaniel's daughter in the game. So yeah, apologies in advance, folks, if that happens.
I think that'd be great.
Have to work on a Scottish accent.
She would. What are you talking about?
definitely up for
She'd
that.
have to work on a
Oh, I
Scottish
thought you
accent.
said I would.
No.
Sorry.
Was that sorry,
Yeah, I
Christian?
forgot you had a Scottish accent. So I'd definitely be up for doing more of it.
Yeah.
Figuring out, even if it's only like ends up being in podcast form, just because I'm equipped to to record a podcast quite easily. Whilst it's the cameras that's the awkward thing for YouTube.
I mean, yeah, I'd be up for a podcast.
We have microphones.
I have a better.
Yeah, but is it better than mine? Really?
I don't know.
I don't think it is.
And on the streaming side of things, we've got people with decent setups. You've got a decent camera setup there, and I don't know. It's in there. I've got to concentrate on the Games Expo at the moment.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
And getting the actual season 1 actually finally properly edited.
Fingers
together.
crossed we'll actually be able to see you at the Games Expo.
Yeah. Yes. Maybe. It's because we're basically we have the smallest possible. So the way it works is if you're a small company like we are, or small creator, you just email them and say, can we have some space? Basically, you fill out the form and you request a starter stand, and once all the floor space has been sold, they figure out where they can fit extra people in, and then they email you and say, do you want this spot here? And either you just say yes or no, and it's the tiniest possible space. We have a 2x2 meter space. We're between Darrington Press and Dice Goblin, I think, where we are at the back of the hall. So we're next to Darrington Press, which is quite cool.
2 very big companies. I've heard of both of them. Yeah.
Yeah. But basically, between the legitimate stands who have paid proper money to be on the floor, they just cram in all these little as many starter stands as they can. So you have no say of where you're going to be or how big your stand's going to be, but you know it's going to be small. And then so you just hire that, and you can do whatever you want within the that's the space that they give you. And and then because obviously we're low on the food chain, we kind of don't have a lot of frills, and the communication has been a little spotty back and forth. So I'm only sort of only because I've been there. I imagine if I hadn't been there, I've been to the expo probably every year for the last 6 or 7 years, not including the pandemic, obviously. But I'm very familiar with the space, and I think if I had never been there before, I'd be a lot more stressed because I would know so little about what's going on. Like for a start, when they released the pre-map, the map just to the exhibitors to just be like, oh, here's the floor plan so that you can get an idea of what it looks like before it goes out public. We were spelt wrong. My name was spelt wrong, and I was like, well, that's not great.
Yeah.
So I was emailing for several days, just seeing emails like, hey, anybody just want to flag my name's spelled. Never got a response to that. But it's on the official map, it's spelled correctly. So either they saw my emails and ignored me, or it was always going to be spelled correctly, and whoever made the exhibitor's map, just like somebody told them the name and just spelt it differently.
We're loading the map now.
On the interactive map on the website.
Yeah. What map?
Hall 1, 2, or 3?
If you we're in hall 2, but if you're on the interactive map and you type in Kristian's brain into the search thing, it will take you there
I
automatically.
could do,
But that's not nearly as fun.
Okay, we're at the back of hall 2, opposite with the cafe.
Oh, I mean, they're numbered, so they're not.
I've never seen the expo this packed before. Like that area where we are, where Darrington Press and everything is, normally that's seating for the cafe. Like when I've looked at old maps, normally that's like extended seating for people to sit and eat. So they've taken all of that out and they've got stands in there before. I've never seen the expo map as packed as it is right now
Search.
this year.
Kristian's brain.
Writer,
Filmmaker,
YouTuber,
YouTuber, and of course gamer.
here to present their first board game.
Ooh. Kristian's brain, range 8 plus 2 to 5. Where it's not. Is it highlighted it? Or
Yeah.
It doesn't actually show whereabouts it is on the map.
It should do if you click on it. If you click on the name, it'll highlight it on the map. It should do.
Oh, welcome to Kristian's brain, where we can't figure out how.
There we go.
Hey, we found it.
Oh wow, zoom straight in, yeah.
Nice.
It's 698 Darrington Press then.
Yeah, I think it's called. Well, it should be called that on if you click on it.
If you click on it, no, clicking it doesn't do anything. Maybe I've got to take
Oh,
off
does
the
it not?
filter. No, just click on it. It just says 798. Maybe I'm breaking it.
This is thrilling content right now.
It is. It's amazing. There you go,
There it
Darrington
is.
Press. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, Darrington Press and Dice Goblin with war paint figurines, table scope, and null signal games. I could be adding this to the stream, couldn't I, if I was a savvy person?
I will be jealous if you get to meet Taliesin Jaffe.
I don't think he's going to be there.
I don't think anyone is there.
Well, nobody from the US will be there. Apart from, hopefully, you.
Nope, no one from the US is allowed.
Oh, that's a shame. Well, you're British now anyway, so it's
There's
fine.
rules.
I mean, I have to talk like this all day.
You do have to talk like that all day, yes.
Alright, I
Right.
suppose if I have to.
And I will put on my worst possible American accent.
No, because I kick you out.
Oh, this is true. Yeah, I see you're. So, what's your address? 799A Cosplay Street.
I do like it.
Yes, we are on Cosplay Street. So if I zoom out,
Ooh.
Ooh.
hang on, squash that down a bit. Ta-da! See, I'm the master of OBS now. So yeah. This is hall 2, and then yeah, we're right at the back here. But we're right by the main stage. If you can find the main stage where like shut up and sit down, and people are going to be recording, and they've got the 50th anniversary D&D thing happening with
Hey.
Luke Gygax. So if you can find the main stage, we're like just behind it.
Nice.
Like that's us there, 799A. So yeah, so that's it. But yeah, normally, like I said, this whole section here where you can see is normally seating for the cafe. There's not normally anybody up here. This is normally where the bring and buy and stuff. Well, in past it has been. Hall 1, there's not normally anybody pretty much along this back wall here, or up in this top corner here. So yeah, it's more packed than I've ever seen it before. Like this whole section in the corner of Hall 1 was nothing last year.
Yeah.
And then Hall 3 has got all open tables. Mega games are happening in there. In N is where the mega games are happening. Because the Hilton has got construction work or something happening in it, so they can't do. Normally they would have a suite in the or like a conference room in the Hilton, but now they've got to be on the floor now. So they're here amongst all of the
Rabble.
all the rabble. So yeah, that's,
Well,
that's
fingers
the-
crossed. Fingers crossed we can get tickets.
We will see. But yeah, yeah. Maybe
And if you go, you get to meet Captain Kaylee.
that is very true.
No, Pilot Powell.
Pilot Powell, but also Captain Kaylee.
Hmm.
I assume that she got a Captain Kaylee card as well as a Pilot Powell.
No, the captain's name is Jenkins. Some of them have names that are like friends who used to test play it with me back when it was a hand-drawn version. Which I didn't realise until I was like reading through it, thinking, why did I come up with these names? But like, oh, it's because it's my old group of friends from Flitwick.
Do we get a name check at all?
We've never
Didn't
played
know you
that
back then.
with them.
I don't care.
I don't think I hadn't met either of you. When did I meet Emily? I might not have met either of you back then.
Hasn't gone to print yet. It's fine.
That's true.
Who are you
Still
gonna
with the
kick
changes.
off?
Who are you going to kick off? Oh,
I tell you what's funny is how much we still find things that need changing, particularly in wording. Like even now, it's like, well, we should things that need to change before it goes to proper print. And just because, again, it's that I think I mentioned earlier up top that it was just stuff that you don't realise doesn't work until somebody who's never read the rules before points out it doesn't work because they didn't understand it. Like, this thing that I've understood, I understand perfectly because I've been working on it for 10 years. So of course I understand it, but yeah, it's all blind. It's like a blind taste test. You don't realise. It's just such a. It seems like it feels like it never ends. Like eventually there's got to be a final version, right? There's got to be a final, definitive, it
And
definitely
then
makes
you'll find
sense
that one
version.
typo.
you say that, but how many erratas did the PHB have?
Wow. But yeah, it's a funny thing. It does feel like you'll never be completely correct.
Well, looking forward to playing it regardless. And we've backed the Kickstarter, or we will do anyway.
Ooh, Kaylee makes a good point. I call dibs.
Oh! What other names you might be throwing out?
It has to be Captain Kaylee, though.
Has to be
because
Captain Kaylee.
Alliteration. I mean, she's your wife. Captain Kaylee and Pilot Powell should really be on there.
No, I reckon Pilot Fraser, because that'll be both of us soon. We can.
That's
Could
true,
do it either way.
I suppose.
Hmm?
Frigate Fraser? Is that a title?
That's the name of. That's the type of ship.
Frigate.
What's a F?
Foreman? No.
Foreman Fraser.
First class. First mate Fraser. First mate Fraser. There you go.
First mate.
First mate.
It was
Fraser.
so obvious.
Yeah. There we go. First mate Fraser. Sold. Please.
I'll think about it.
Non-committal.
I mean, it's too late for us to change the prototypes now.
Yeah, but when it
That's
goes
what
to print,
Sharpies are for.
if it's good enough for Donald Trump and a weatherman.
No, stop.
What?
I'm just tired
I
of
think
hearing
that's a
about
reference
that
I didn't
person.
get.
When he was president, he basically doodled on a weather map to prove to, like, say, hey, look, the hurricane's going in this direction, and he just drew a great big Sharpie over an area that he wanted it to go to. Sorry.
Sure. That sounds like a thing that would have happened.
Sadly, it was. But yeah, First Mate Fraser, Captain Kaylee, everyone wins. Apart from the person who's currently the first mate and the captain, but we don't care about them.
Ah.
Well, we don't know them, so it's kind of hard
Poor
to...
old friend of mine who I haven't spoken to in over 10 years.
Exactly! You see?
I don't live in Flitwick anymore.
One of your 1.36 thousand subscribers will be like, that was me, you bastard!
I've been following you for years.
Neutromancer's...
Waiting to see my name.
Neutromancer's real name is Jenkins.
Dun, dun, dun.
I mean, Neutromancer Jenkins is a pretty cool name. Wait.
What?
Neutroman. Okay, for a second I looked at it, I'm like, are we saying it wrong? We're probably saying it wrong. Sorry, Neutromancer Jenkins.
A mancer of neutrality.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Dun,
Dun, dun, dun.
Sorry, Jenkins.
You see, they haven't confirmed whether their name is Neutromancer Jenkins, of course, so that's fair.
Their name is Jenkins.
Their name is Jenkins.
Hey, Jenkins.
Hey,
How's it
Jenkins, hey
going?
there. Yeah, nice.
I-
How to alienate Christian's viewership by just giving them new names.
Now, one active chat person. Don't harass them.
Yes, that is correct. I am completely ambivalent about Manson. Nice. I like you, Neutromancer.
Yeah, you're our favourite.
What is a man? What is a
Nice to
mancer?
meet you, Jenkins.
What's the origin of that?
Your name is Jenkins now. I don't care if it was before or not.
Yeah,
I feel
we're
like it's starting to feel like we should round up before we go completely mad.
Yeah, probably.
before.
Oh dear.
But yes, well, it was good to chat with you, sir, on Tinterweb.
It was. That was a fun distraction that I think I needed.
Yeah, and we now know that Skype does not work well with microphones, it seems.
It just doesn't want you to hear people. It's like, no, he doesn't get to hear anything.
Yes, what do you have going on right now?
So right now, I have got a call with Kristian in which I am muted.
So in Discord.
In Discord. So
He's listening to me through Discord.
I listen to Kristian through Discord. He's listening to me and seeing me through Skype, or seeing us through Skype.
Uh-huh.
And we're seeing Kristian on delay on YouTube.
Nice.
Yeah, because I can't have the video running on both.
I mean, that makes sense.
Skype won't let you use your camera if it's being used by something else.
Yeah, I remember that. But
I mean, I could.
But it makes sense to the viewer now. At this point, we figured out how to make it. Doesn't work. It's nonsense on our side, but it makes sense to the viewers.
I mean, what you could do, what you can't see obviously, but I've actually got two webcams side by side on top of my main monitor right now. So you could if you had the dual webcams, you could have one for OBS and one for Skype or whatever.
That's true. Yeah, if I had plugged in my one of my cameras, one of my big cameras.
Is that
siren?
Is that siren?
They'll come to get me.
Is that siren from your end or my end?
No, it's definitely here.
No, it's
That was right by the window. It's right outside.
it's going in the right
I
direction.
think it's stopping outside as well.
It's
not going away.
It might genuinely be worth seeing whether Discord and OBS have a conversation, because that would make things a lot easier.
Yeah.
Thanks for future.
Future maybe.
That's a feature. That can be done not on stream,
Right.
because that's probably not going to be that thrilling for people to watch.
Thanks everyone for watching.
Yeah. And I'm also going to figure out Twitch as well at some point, because that's the thing I need to get into. I watch a lot of Twitch, but I don't know how it works.
Cool. Well,
I went live on Twitch once.
we always went live on Twitch. Roll Dark was live on Twitch.
Oh, right, but I personally went live on Twitch once.
How did you go live on Twitch?
Very badly. I did not have much connection.
What were you doing?
Playing RuneScape?
Playing RuneScape live on Twitch.
Uh-huh.
Did anybody watch?
No, because my frame rate was like 1 frame per second.
Maybe we should stream us playing Valheim. That would be great content.
I mean, I'd enjoy it.
Well, yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway.
It is interesting though, because it's the thing of like people call it is it hustle culture, or what people say, like people just trying to monetize, not necessarily monetize, but just kind of turn our hobbies into
Side
work.
Side gigs, yeah.
Which
I think
a lot of people,
I think it's.
yeah, a lot of people talk about it kind of derisively, like, well, you don't have to, not everything you're doing, all your fun doesn't have to be like for a benefit. But I prefer to think of it as like, I want to create a job doing something I really enjoy.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's no way on God's green earth am I ever going to try and do this professionally to actually make a living out of. That's not something that I can ever get to be.
But as extra money.
As extra money to help pay for Pretty Emily presents, then yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's all good.
I got headphones.
All right. Well,
Right,
yes.
anyway,
Thank
thank
you
you,
for
Jenkins.
indulging me, and yeah, thanks for joining me and having a bit of a chat there.
Yeah. And hopefully the lovely viewers will get to see season 1 soon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you are going to UK Games Expo, you'll definitely be seeing Kristian and Captain Kaylee, not Pilot Powell, Captain Kaylee.
Captain Kate.
Yeah. And if you're really unlucky, you might see us too as well.
And you'll see me getting increasingly exhausted as the weekend goes on.
Spanish Fate.
Spanish Fate.
I want to watch. Wait, go back. I want to watch this and work on my Spanish. Wait, Nutrimancer, drop that link in chat.
You're working on your Spanish?
Jenkins, we demand Spanish
Jenkins.
Fate.
I'll leave you to figure that one out. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.